Welcome to the White House.
Help me God. Congratulations, Mr.
I love this.
He was born into the abundant, disciplined world of Queens, an heir apparent to a thriving, rigid real estate dynasty. But the comfort felt suffocating, a heavy, velvet cloak over a restless, volatile spirit that yearned for grander battles. Fred Trump, his formidable father, enforced order with an iron gaze, viewing his son's defiance as a weakness to be purged. Donald saw the limits of his father's domain, the predictable profits, the safe, suburban scale, and felt only disdain. An untamed, deep-seated ambition pulsed in his chest, a refusal to be merely the second act in someone else's play. He looked past the quiet streets toward the impossible vertical promise of Manhattan, where the real titans clashed. His first struggle was against the quiet expectation of inheritance, a desire to smash the blueprint of his own life. He learned the primary lesson early. The only path to true power is through relentless, aggressive self-assertion. This internal friction between privilege and primal hunger was the engine of his entire dramatic journey.
Great like Somalia. Welcome.
If you want to see more of such documentaries, make sure to subscribe to our channel Quest Insights.
At the age of 13, the gilded cage of home was replaced by the cold, exacting regime of military school. All traces of pampered luxury were stripped away, replaced by the relentless geometry of rank, structure, and early morning reveille. The boy who expected deference now learned to submit to the crushing, impersonal weight of the hierarchy. He quickly realized that he could channel his boundless energy, recognizing discipline as a sharp, invaluable tool for control. He excelled, emerging 5 years later not merely educated, but transformed into a weapon, polished and relentless in his drive. Yet, the heart of the boy remained an unyielding core of ambition, now tempered by the Academy's icy, rigid discipline. He understood that showing weakness was fatal, and that power lay in the rigid, unshakable structure he imposed on himself. The military institution served as the necessary crucible where raw ego was hammered into the perfect, unbending armor of command. The familiar landscapes of Brooklyn and Queens were now nothing more than his father's dull, comfortable kingdom. Donald's gaze was fixed solely on the glittering, cold, cynical skyline of the ultimate power center, Manhattan. He crossed the bridge not with reverence, but with the bold swagger of a conqueror, staking his claim on modern Rome. He demanded colossal canvases, projects whose sheer scale would scream his name from every corner of the island. Failure was not simply undesirable. It was an existential impossibility for the character he was beginning to construct. He hunted high-stakes risk where others sought shelter, addicted to the vertigo of the most impossible deals. The towering island, ruthless and unforgiving, was the perfect, grand mirror for his own vaulting, demanding aspiration. He staked his entire future on the dazzling, self-created belief that he alone was destined to own the sky. He would not inherit the city. He would seize it through audacity and sheer will.
Prisons are emptied into our country.
His debut was a brazen, defiant challenge to the old guard, the acquisition of the decaying, monumental Commodore Hotel. He stood before the shattered, grime-caked walls, seeing not ruin, but a diamond hopelessly buried within the urban decay. Securing the crucial tax abatement was a desperate, high-wire act of intense negotiation, deception, and force of will. Every powerful, vested hand in New York was poised, ready to crush the young, loud upstart, betting on his swift failure. He wrestled with the bureaucracy and the cautious bankers, promising a glory they had no capacity to yet conceive. The glittering Grand Hyatt rose triumphantly from the rubble, a gleaming, undeniable monument to his blinding audacity. He had successfully fractured the established, unspoken rules. The son of Queens was now a certified player in the city's most elite sphere. A new name thundered through the financial district, a signature forged in stainless steel and
They police themselves. They kill each other all the time.
Then came the definitive centerpiece, the ultimate statement, a fortress of pure, aggressive opulence on Fifth Avenue. Trump Tower, a magnificent cascade of pink marble and polished brass, a vertical, unavoidable declaration of personal triumph. He was no longer merely constructing properties. He was meticulously constructing the flawless, unshakable myth of the Donald. The tower was a permanent shrine to excess, the ultimate stage for his life, topped by his infamously gilded penthouse. His private world vanished. The cameras followed his every confident, choreographed stride in a relentless, public spectacle. But the crushing weight of the gold was immense, an anchor tied to the most visible, scrutinized figure in the city. He realized the terrible, exhausting cost of maintaining the brand. He could never retreat, never show doubt, never be wrong. The tower was his glory and his prison, its height demanding a constant, flawless, and utterly draining.
Please raise your hand.
The decade of the 1980s screamed his name, a titan of casinos, a high-profile purveyor of private jets and colossal yachts. He purchased the iconic Plaza Hotel for a staggering price, admitting it was an iconic trophy acquisition, not a sound investment. Atlantic City, its glittering, cynical boardwalk, became his risky second domain, an empire built precariously on colossal debt. He was addicted not to the simple acquisition of money, but to the sheer scale of the game, the intoxicating thrill of impossible risk. The Trump princess sliced dramatically through the dark ocean waves, carrying him further and further from the stable bedrock of financial reality. He desperately believed the impossible momentum was eternal, his gold touch infallible, the debt a temporary illusion of numbers. He was living entirely within a tabloid fantasy.
I love it. She comes to our country.
The unforgiving spotlight, once his greatest tool, turned cruelly intense, searing his personal life to ash in the public eye. His first marriage collapsed in a humiliating, public spectacle that gripped the nation's attention for months on end. The ruthless headlines splashed every scandal and painful betrayal across the front pages of every newspaper in the world. The private man, wounded and emotionally reeling, was cruelly forced to act out his deepest heartbreak in the harsh open air. He was learning the bitter, agonizing truth. The brand, his self-created monster, demanded continuous, total sacrifice of his private self. Even love and the integrity of his family were now transactional subjects, painful assets in the merciless market of public fame. He stood intensely alone, surrounded by bodyguards and journalists, deeply vulnerable beneath the practiced shell of bravado. The struggle to protect his essential humanity from the suffocating demands of his myth became the fiercest, most private battle of all.
Can you imagine if Donald Trump...
The new decade arrived, and the real estate tide violently and decisively receded, leaving his towering empire completely exposed. Billions of dollars of crushing corporate debt, personally guaranteed by his own hand, loomed like a devastating, inescapable tsunami. The Taj Mahal, which was supposed to be his greatest architectural jewel, filed for bankruptcy barely a year after its opening. His colossal empire was suddenly revealed as a hollow, fragile shell, the gold veneer cracked and peeling away everywhere. He was forced to walk the streets he once claimed to own, haunted by the chilling specter of total, humiliating annihilation. The financial world waited with bated breath for the inevitable crash, for the ultimate public downfall of the great showman. He was no longer the undisputed master of the deal, but a miserable prisoner shackled to the heavy chains of his own staggering overreach. The financial descent was swift and brutal. The mighty fortress had become a crumbling, ignoble ruin, sinking in the quicksand of debt.
I love her. She comes in.
The most devastating, soul-crushing moment was the utter loss of control. The powerful banks now utterly owned him. The architects of his near-fatal downfall were his own creditors, holding the keys to his personal future and his name's legacy. He recalled the painful humiliation of being forced to walk through his own properties, acknowledging the silent, watchful bankers in attendance. His every business decision was scrutinized, every minor personal expense questioned, his towering pride swallowed daily for survival. He was, for a terrifying and desperate period, technically worth negative billions, an incomprehensible void of wealth and hope. He later confessed the sheer, paralyzing agony of those private struggles, the overwhelming, waking fear of complete ruin. He had to master the counterintuitive art of convincing those who held his life in their hands that he was still the indispensable asset. It was here he learned the deepest, most ruthless lesson of power. When you owe enough, you gain ownership over the lenders. From the smoldering ashes of bankruptcy and debt, a cunning, desperate survival strategy was dramatically forged. He shrewdly leveraged his immense, globally recognized fame, convincing creditors that the name was more valuable than the brick and mortar. He restructured the crippling debt, sacrificing large portions of equity but saving the potent, magnetic global brand itself. It was a masterstroke of financial survival, securing his position not as a solvent wealthy man, but as a brilliant, defiant debtor. The core business survived, albeit battered, finally shedding the heavy, unsustainable burdens of the failed casino ventures. He publicly vowed never again to be beholden to traditional banks, placing his absolute trust only in the self-propagating power of his image. The near-death experience became the ultimate proof of his unique, unkillable spirit, his dramatic resilience in the face of ruin. He had stared into the void of annihilation and returned, irrevocably scarred but utterly transformed. The most devastating, soul-crushing moment was the utter loss of control. The powerful banks now utterly owned him. The architects of his near-fatal downfall were his own creditors, holding the keys to his personal future and his name's legacy. He recalled the painful humiliation of being forced to walk through his own properties, acknowledging the silent, watchful bankers in attendance. His every business decision was scrutinized, every minor personal expense questioned, his towering pride swallowed daily for survival. He was, for a terrifying and desperate period, technically worth negative billions, an incomprehensible void of wealth and hope. He later confessed the sheer, paralyzing agony of those private struggles, the overwhelming, waking fear of complete ruin. He had to master the counterintuitive art of convincing those who held his life in their hands that he was still the indispensable asset. It was here he learned the deepest, most ruthless lesson of power. When you owe enough, you gain ownership over the lenders. The most devastating, soul-crushing moment was the utter loss of control. The powerful banks now utterly owned him. The architects of his near-fatal downfall were his own creditors, holding the keys to his personal future and his name's legacy. He recalled the painful humiliation of being forced to walk through his own properties, acknowledging the silent, watchful bankers in attendance. His every business decision was scrutinized, every minor personal expense questioned, his towering pride swallowed daily for survival. He was, for a terrifying and desperate period, technically worth negative billions, an incomprehensible void of wealth and hope. He later confessed the sheer, paralyzing agony of those private struggles, the overwhelming, waking fear of complete ruin. He had to master the counterintuitive art of convincing those who held his life in their hands that he was still the indispensable asset. It was here he learned the deepest, most ruthless lesson of power. When you owe enough, you gain ownership over the lenders. From the smoldering ashes of bankruptcy and debt, a cunning, desperate survival strategy was dramatically forged. He shrewdly leveraged his immense, globally recognized fame, convincing creditors that the name was more valuable than the brick and mortar. He restructured the crippling debt, sacrificing large portions of equity but saving the potent, magnetic global brand itself. It was a masterstroke of financial survival, securing his position not as a solvent wealthy man, but as a brilliant, defiant debtor. The core business survived, albeit battered, finally shedding the heavy, unsustainable burdens of the failed casino ventures. He publicly vowed never again to be beholden to traditional banks, placing his absolute trust only in the self-propagating power of his image. The near-death experience became the ultimate proof of his unique, unkillable spirit, his dramatic resilience in the face of ruin. He had stared into the void of annihilation and returned, irrevocably scarred but utterly transformed by the heroine. The 1990s witnessed a profound, lasting transformation. He deliberately and strategically stopped being just a regional builder. He meticulously transformed himself into an intellectual property, a license, a global symbol of aggressive, aspirational success. The Trump name was affixed, like a royal seal, to towers, apparel, educational courses, and golf links around the globe. He was now selling the seductive, shimmering idea of wealth, the golden, untouchable fantasy that had once nearly destroyed his reality. This new brand fortress was built on pure, intangible perception, entirely impervious to the fickle winds of any economic downturn. He traded the dangerous, heavy reality of construction for the light, viral, self-propagating power of the omnipresent media. His central struggle became the relentless, exhausting maintenance of the perfect illusion, the unwavering facade of permanent winning. The complex, financially troubled developer was truly dead. Long live the triumphant impresario of global aspiration.
Future executive order.
The dawn of the new millennium demanded an even larger, more visible platform for his singular, outsized, dramatic persona. He traded the dangerous heights of the skyscraper for the controlled, predictable environment of the television studio set. The Apprentice was far more than mere entertainment. It was a total, aggressive rebranding, a coronation by prime-time light. He established himself as the ultimate, decisive arbiter of ambition, delivering judgment with a simple, crushing, iconic phrase. The show cemented his image as the decisive, infallible CEO, the man who held the undisputed, secret keys to success. His complex, bankruptcy-ridden history was expertly erased, replaced by the clean, powerful myth of perfect, unblemished achievement. He was no longer talking to skeptical bankers. He was now speaking directly and powerfully to the millions watching at home. The television screen was the final and most strategically powerful piece of his sprawling, invisible real estate empire.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
The reality show was the dramatic crucible where his polished media persona was forged into an unassailable weapon of cultural attention. The famous catchphrase became the cultural thunderclap, instantly signaling his absolute, unchallenged authority over success and failure. He was theatrical, exaggerated, and utterly captivating. A mesmerizing blend of raw power and masterful, magnetic showmanship. He learned the essential modern grammar of attention. Controversy generates currency, and silence is instant, irreversible death. The private struggle for legitimacy was over. He was now authentically, universally, and undeniably famous in his own right. His distinct hair, his mannerisms, his hyperbolic style, all became instantly iconic, instantly recognizable, undeniable assets. He cleverly leveraged the entertainment world's fleeting nature to construct an enduring, highly visible political foundation. He had mastered the highest art of the 21st century, turning sheer, aggressive identity into ultimate, decisive leverage.
Individuals from Somalia in the group, please raise your hand.
He descended the golden escalator, and the world watched with a mixture of profound shock and open, immediate mockery. His unexpected announcement was met with instant derision from seasoned pundits and the traditional political class. His nascent campaign was quickly chaotic, aggressive, and entirely unorthodox, a wrecking ball against every political convention. He traded detailed policy specifics for raw, emotional, highly charged rallies that bypassed the intellectual critique. The internal struggle was the most grueling, maintaining the infallible persona while fighting down real, entrenched political giants. The odds were impossibly stacked against the outsider, the businessman, the celebrity, and the reality star. He channeled the desperate energy of his past financial crises, treating the election as the ultimate high-stakes corporate takeover. He campaigned not as a politician, but as a disruptive countercultural phenomenon, a force of nature against the establishment.
And I will faithfully execute.
The rallies became his personal, vast theaters, massive gatherings where he and the crowd fed off each other's intense defiance. He spoke directly, raw, and unvarnished, completely bypassing the media filters he once courted for attention and validation. The controversies and scandals piled up daily, each one confidently predicted to be the final, fatal blow to his candidacy. Yet, each attack seemed only to solidify and strengthen his intense bond with a fervent, loyal, and protective base of voters. He stood entirely alone against the immense, combined machinery of both major parties, fighting a grueling asymmetrical war. He had found the ultimate high-risk, high-reward deal, trading every last safety net for the ultimate priceless prize of power. He endured the constant, draining torrent of negative media and venomous, personal attacks with surprising, grim resilience. The campaign trail was a marathon of sheer, unyielding will powered by an almost desperate, consuming need to win. Election night descended, heavy with the certainty and the immense, suffocating weight of established expectation. But as the agonizing hours slowly ticked by, the impossible, unforeseen outcome began to unfold, county by county, state by state. The professional doubters and political class watched in stunned, terrified silence as the electoral map turned an unexpected, defiant red. He had pulled off the ultimate upset, a victory that completely shattered the political foundations and norms of the world. Standing before the cameras, the reality star was suddenly, officially, the leader of the free world. The sheer magnitude of the achievement was breathtaking, a dramatic vindication of his entire life's relentless gambling spirit. He had proven that the laws of celebrity and pure audacity could, for one shining, impossible moment, conquer established politics. The ultimate title was secured, crowning the turbulent, relentless, decades-long journey that began in the suburbs of Queens.
Welcome to the White House.
His tenure in office was instantly defined by constant, ferocious conflict, a whirlwind of policy, tweets, and unrelenting political warfare. He governed exactly as he built, with audacious speed, minimal regard for norms, and relentless, decisive counterpunching against perceived enemies. He fought legislative battles with raw, unyielding force, fundamentally reshaping the judiciary and the national tax code with lasting effect. Globally, he aggressively upended treaties and alliances, applying the brutal, transactional logic of his business career. The challenges were immense. Impeachment attempts, the harsh glare of endless investigations, and sudden global crises that tested his resolve. He never truly settled into the traditional presidential role, always maintaining the persona of the aggressive outsider, the perpetual fighter. He found himself locked in a grueling, existential wrestling match with the very governmental institutions he was sworn to lead. The White House, unlike his golden towers, was not a safe refuge but a chaotic, constant, exhausting battlefield of wills. Even after the controversial and final exit from office, his absolute hold on the nation's political psyche remained unbreakable. He retreated to his opulent resorts, but the microphone was never silenced. The massive, dedicated rallies never truly ceased their roar. He faced a relentless, unprecedented wave of legal and civil challenges, a storm seemingly designed to finally break his influence and spirit. Each indictment, each courtroom drama, only cemented his carefully crafted role as the political martyr to his fervent base. His struggle was no longer for a business or a building, but for his very freedom, his movement, and his public legacy against all odds. He skillfully turned vulnerability into immense political power, transforming the image of the persecuted victim into the symbol of a movement. The financial siege of the 90s had perfectly prepared him for this ultimate, draining, multi-front legal and political onslaught. He proved that even without the office, he remained the gravitational, unmovable center of the entire political universe.
From all over the world.
Years of conflict, devastating bankruptcies, public divorces, crippling lawsuits, and political wars culminated in a final, defiant ascent. He had successfully defied every expert, survived every predicted downfall, and dramatically outlasted every vocal critic and opponent. The consuming ambition that first drove the young boy from Queens had finally secured the ultimate, shimmering glory he always craved. It was a victory achieved not by quiet consensus, but by a thunderous, defiant, and undeniable claim to the world's most powerful seat. His dramatic, turbulent life story was the ultimate testament to the ruthless, high-stakes game he played against all conceivable odds and norms. He stood triumphant atop the highest peak, the perpetual symbol of the determined, impossible underdog who refuses to ever quit. The painful scars of the past finally faded as the golden light of the present shone on his final, dramatic, triumphant.
If you liked our video, make sure subscribe to our channel Quest Insights so you never miss any of our upcoming videos.